minute, good afternoon and welcome to Barça Live, a very special Barça Live, may I say, to what corresponds to match day 9 of La Liga Santander. And this one should have been marked in red in your calendars, of course, because it's Clasico weekend, folks. And for that, we've got a 2-hour broadcast coming your way. It's, of course, the game that is seen by hundreds of millions of people around the globe. Just about as many that saw that rap that Spence did just a few weeks ago right here on Barça Live. So stay tuned. We've got reactions from the protagonists coming your way. Perfect, excellent analysis as well from our studio panel and special guests that will be joining us. So take a seat, relax. But first of all, we're going to be connecting with our pitchside reporter, Bruno Ballester, who's over at the Ciutat Esportiva to get the very latest. So Bruno, over to you.
Yes, hello and good afternoon here from the press room of the Ciutat Esportiva Joan Gamper. In less than 15 minutes, Xavi Hernández will be here in the hot seat giving his pre-game reactions before El Clasico. Big match, of course, around the world. High expectations with all the media from all the globe that are here today in Sant Joan d'Espí in Barcelona in this press room. And the menu for today, yes, 2:30, this press conference, of course, live here during the show Barça Live. And then 4 p.m. will be the chance to see the last training session of FC Barcelona before traveling to Madrid, plane that will depart from Barcelona airport at 7 p.m. And the team will land at around 8:15 to Madrid. They will arrive to the hotel 8:45, dinner and time to sleep and rest before that kickoff, 4:15 Central European time tomorrow, Sunday. We will stay here in the press room. We will try to chat to some of the journalists that are here today to also know their reactions and their opinions about what they are expecting from this big clash, Real Madrid, FC Barcelona.
Thank you for that, Bruno. We're going to be connecting with you a little bit later today, but to introduce today's studio panel, we have with us Natalia Ostrovska and Spencer Siegel, two of our trusted guests. How are you doing today? A little bit nervous? Do you feel the tension, let's say, of Clasico weekend, Natalia?
Yes, definitely. You know, the vibe, which is also connected to El Clasico game, so I'm very excited.
I couldn't possibly want to get back onto the pitch more than I do for tomorrow's game. After everything that's gone on, let's play some football, please. Good to have you here too, Diego.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back here. I say back because it's the first time I'm in this studio. It's cozy. I like it. It's comfy. The temperature's good.
That's the vibe we're going for. We just want comfortable Barca victories. That's what we're going for.
So did you know that your rap had been viewed by hundreds of millions of people?
Yeah, somehow I think that's a lie.
Why?
Hundreds of millions is a lot of people, Natalia.
Yeah, I do, but maybe you are, good enough for that.
Right. Well, Eurovision needs to give us a call, but that's for another day. Today we're focused on El Clasico.
Absolutely, Spence. And well, maybe it was just in my household that we saw so many times. It was excellent.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the Clasico, how it sort of lived in your homelands. You come from the United States, of course. You from Poland, Natalia. What's it like, El Clasico, over in Poland?
So they have always special preparation, in the channels that have the rights to show El Clasico. So there is always a special panel, which goes to either Camp Nou or Santiago Bernabeu, and they have a studio on the pitch. But this year they are doing, lots of more stuff because of Robert Lewandowski. I know that they are going to have some exclusive stuff with Robert Lewandowski, also with his wife, and also with other Barca players, I think Sergi Roberto, and also with Real Madrid players. So yeah, a big, representation of Polish journalists, of Polish fans, of Polish television is going to be in Madrid tomorrow. And in Poland, we have quite a good representation of official peñas, and they are going to be gathering tomorrow to see, if it's the weekend, which is also for a Clasico. They are always, spending all the weekend, Real Madrid fans, Barca fans together, and obviously the most important point of those gatherings are the games. So they are going to be watching it. Obviously, Barca fans one place, Real Madrid other place, but yeah, they're going to have fun for sure.
Has it always been like this, or is this more of a recent thing now that, of course, the big Polish striker Robert Lewandowski is playing for Barca?
I think obviously this year is something bigger, and I think more people maybe are going to join them. But yeah, you know, those peñas, they are existing for quite a long time. And for example, I remember joining one of them to watch El Clasico at the cinema, because sometimes they were, you know, asking some cinemas to, you know, put the game, and you were paying an extra entrance, and yeah, it's always you know, interesting to watch it on the big screen. So yeah, but this year I think it's obviously more interesting. More fans are going to watch this. That's for sure.
Of course, of course. And you, Spence, you being from Chicago, of course, U.S. is a very big place. We know there's many peñas there, but what's it like in your hometown?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm encroaching on the first year anniversary of living here, and I can see various similarities, obviously certain differences between the environment here, especially surrounding a game like tomorrow's, and when I lived in the U.S. I came from Chicago, lived there for many years, but I also lived in Florida for several years as well, including the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area, where there's a much richer soccer culture than other parts of the United States. I lived in Mississippi for a year, and I can tell you with pretty supreme confidence that there was a far less advanced soccer culture there, that we would say soccer. But I think the difference between what I've seen here, outside of Catalonia, of course, and the Spanish capital, is that you're going to run into people from all different areas of Spain who have their teams that are not just Barça and Madrid. And for the most part in the U.S., I can't obviously speak for the country as a whole, but from generalities of what you typically tend to see, is that the Premier League and the MLS as well, and the Champions League, get most of the coverage as far as people's time and fandom. And what's changed recently, especially with the rights for La Liga being picked up by ESPN, which is an even bigger global presence for the league as a whole, is La Liga has now started to filter its way more into the mainstream, into people's lives, and because of that, it's not so much Sevilla, Betis, Valencia, Atleti that live as much in the U.S. It's pretty much, if you're a La Liga fan, not speaking for everybody, but it's pretty much Barça and Madrid are the two. And so,
as you'd expect.
So even before the rights changed in the U.S. to become slightly more visible to a larger population, El Clasico was the game in La Liga that people would pay attention to. And you might not be paying attention to the Osasuna-Getafe matchup that's going on a Friday afternoon. But when it's Barça Madrid, you know. It's kind of similar to when, on a smaller scale, is when Dortmund and Bayern would be playing in Germany. For Barça Madrid, everybody's ready for it, and I think people are excited to see that once again because it's a new era.
Thank you for that in-depth insight, Spence. We got to keep moving. I say it's a 2-hour broadcast, but we do need to continue on with the show. And in fact, at this point in time, you already see it behind me. I want to introduce this very special Clasico edition shirt of the Barça shirt. Spence, you have one right behind you as well. Let's hoist it up in the air because it's a beauty, this one. It's a special Clasico edition. It's the very first time, in fact, that Barça are replacing the logo of their usual sponsor, the sponsor this year, of course, of Spotify, of that of a musical artist. Natalia, at this point in time, I suppose you know who this is.
Drake, of course.
It's, of course, the internationally acclaimed multi-Grammy winner Drake, the first music artist to ever hit 50 billion streams on Spotify. And to commemorate that occasion, well, look at the beauty. They've decided to put the logo of Drake on the shirt. I love this.
Yeah, me too.
It looks really cool. It's unfortunately not available in stores, but for you at home and for all of you watching and participating, you got a chance to actually win this by simply visiting the website, signing up, following all of the steps. It's explained very clearly. Sign up, enter in the draw, and you have a chance to win this quite unique and historic Barça shirt, I should say. I'm going to sign up myself, and I might do so in this next moment because we're going to move along and going to chat about how Barça are arriving to this match. So, guys, the last game that Barça played was, of course, in the Champions League. It's still the group stage. This game at home against Inter. A draw, 3-3. Unfortunate draw, a cruel draw as well, according to Xavi. How do you think Barça will react, or how do they have to react going into this Clasico?
I mean, right now we're coming to completely different competition. I think with that we need to, change the chip and thinking that, as Eric Garcia said, we are La Liga leaders, and that's the most important thing. And winning El Clasico will be an important step to, being closer to the title.
Spence.
Yeah, I think Natalia hit it right on the nose. It's a different competition, and that's what Barca have to focus on now is La Liga. This is their biggest La Liga matchup to date. Marc-Andre Ter Stegen is on an excellent run of form in terms of keeping the ball out of the net. And in order to get a result in this next contest, I think you have to do more of the same, and you need the defense to do what they've been doing in La Liga for most of the year.
Okay, we also want to hear from you, the viewers, how Barça should react and how they should approach this game following this match. So don't be shy, and of course submit your comments in the comments section below. We're going to be connecting with Bruno in just a little bit, who's already standing by with an international journalist and friend of the show, in fact, Rick Sharma, to talk about the latest coming from the Barça camp. But just to finish off the highlights here, at this point in time, Spence, were you still feeling, of course, when this goal hit, the 3-2, it's what were your feelings at this point in time?
There were so many emotions going through.
It was a bonkers game.
Going through all of us throughout the because you go from even this moment here, right at the end, that knocks Barca out officially of the Champions League if that ball hits the back of the net. It didn't. And even though I think a lot of people are thinking, all right, well, Champions League, it might not happen this year, that Lewandowski goal towards the end in stoppage time still provides you with the slightest glimmer of hope for the next 2 weeks.
It does. It's a slightest hope, a glimmer of hope that Barca still have, of course. And on that note, why don't we connect with Bruno at this point to talk, like I said, to a friend of the show, Rick Sharma.
Yes, I mean, in very few minutes, Xavi will sit here in the hot seat. But before, we are here with one of our familiar faces of Barca Live. Of course, we are here with Rick Sharma. Rick, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. Glad to be back.
We are asking in the studio, and we want to ask you, how should Barca react after what happened to Inter and change mentality to face El Clasico now?
It's a huge question, isn't it? I'm sure they'll ask Xavi as well. But the key for me is attacking this game with a lot of intensity and a lot of determination and grit to show the supporters that despite what happened in the Champions League, they're still fighting, they can still fight for La Liga. But at the same time, without moving into desperation, because I think that's what happened against Inter in the second half. I think Barca got a bit desperate, which left the team open at the other end. And I think they have to find the balance between kind of a righteous anger to prove themselves without going too far and leaving themselves too open.
We say many times that always when a Clasico arrives, it doesn't really matter how both teams arrive. I don't know if you agree, and in this case, you're expecting this big and huge reaction from Barca or not.
Look, for me, I know people like to say that, but I think to me it is important. Of course, the Clasico brings its own emotions and own feeling. But when you arrive at the game, for example, with lots of injuries like Barcelona have had in the defence with Koundé, Araujo, Bellerin, Christensen, there's like a long list of injuries. Of course, it affects the team and it affects the setup that Xavi's going to use. And it could have a positive effect in a way too. Maybe Real Madrid are watching what happened in the Champions League and maybe they're thinking, oh, okay, it's going to be easy, but Barca will go out there in the Bernabeu and they'll make sure it won't be easy for Real Madrid.
You were talking, of course, about the long list of absences for Barca. Ancelotti has confirmed that at least Courtois is not going to be able to play for Real Madrid. I don't know, how do you see Los Blancos arriving to this game? Also, top of the league, same number of points as Barca.
That's true. I mean, Madrid have had trouble keeping clean sheets in La Liga, at least. They've struggled, whereas Barcelona have only let in one goal all season. So it's funny we're talking about Barca's defensive absences as we get to the game when they've actually been very, very good defensively in La Liga. And Ancelotti also said in his press conference that Barcelona have been spectacular in La Liga, which I think is fair. But Madrid, I mean, they came from their draw with Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League, which on paper is not a very good result because they should win that game. But it's a draw which saw them qualify for the last 16 without Courtois and with a last-minute goal from Antonio Rudiger, who will be fit for the game. So it's kind of what you expect from Real Madrid. They managed to get that last-minute goal, don't they?
Rick, any predictions, or it's always tough to say what's going to happen in the Clasico? Last year, unpredictable, but Barca won 4-0, for example.
I have a feeling it's going to be a draw this game. I feel like for Barca, that's not a bad result after what happened in the week. They just need to keep their footing and avoid defeat. I think there'll be goals, though. I'm thinking a 2-2 draw.
Thank you, Rick.
Cheers.
Well, the reactions here from Rick Sharma. As always, a Clasico, high expectations from all international media around the world.
Well, thank you for that, Bruno. We're going to be connecting, of course, with you later again. But on that note, we are actually heading over back to the Ciutat Esportiva because Xavi is already sitting in a hot seat. Head coach Xavi Hernández.
Què tal, Xavi? Bona tarda, Marc Grau de Barça TV. La temporada passada arribàveu al Bernabéu amb una situació complicada i deies que era un partit per ser valents, per ser agressius i vau aconseguir un resultat històric. Aquest any vosaltres sou molt diferents, però el Madrid pràcticament no ha canviat la seva plantilla. Creus que us pot servir com a referència aquell partit més enllà de la situació amb com arribeu tots els equips ara? Gràcies.
Bé, sí, bona tarda. Sí, clar que ens pot servir de referència, no? De ser valents, de jugar amb personalitat, de tenir possessions.
He says that could be the reference for us to be brave,
tenir paciència,
to
movem d'un cantó a l'altre, ells també.
work in the counter-attack, force the opposition to suffer. It's true that we're very comfortable in the midfield and at the back, but we need to work better as a complete unit. The other day, we saw a lot of assists being created from between the lines against Inter, and we need to be a bit more compact. If they're in transition, we need to ensure that everyone moves into the transition or get back to be a solid block at the back. We need to be brave, we need to impose our personality, and we've got a really clear example, which was the match last season. We arrived not in the best moment then, now we arrive at the top of the league. So he's asking about the personality. It's 3 points, so it's not a Clasico that's decisive or determining, but it could mark the difference between the two sides. This is the 3 points. At the end of the day, that's important, as well as the morale and confidence of winning a Clasico. He says it's important. It's a vital match for us, also for Real Madrid, because they could come out as leaders from this match as well. The project is to keep moving forward. We got the feeling that we continue in construction. That's obvious. The result the other day in Europe was sad and frustrating, not being able to beat Inter at home. But we have to keep moving forward, continue, be positive, believe in the project. We're on the right path. I want to insist that we're on the right path. We're much better than last year. We're playing splendid in La Liga. We've scored 20 goals, conceded 1. We're leading the competition. And we always say that the result so far for this season is going well, not in Europe. There are things that need to improve, but each project has only just gotten started. This is a project that's in construction, and we can't do everything at once. We ask for calm, patience, and there are other competitions aside from Europe.
Hola, Xavi, Marta Ramon, en directe a RAC1. Et volia preguntar per Koundé, com se sent.
She's asking about Koundé. How is he feeling now he's returned to training after the injury? Is there a possibility of him being in the starting 11, and is it urgent for him to get back to form? He says he's 100, he's feeling at 100%, he's doing well, he's playing really well, he's got good feelings, he's training hard, he's made a good effort. He will be available and we'll look at it tomorrow.
Xavi, ¿qué tal? Hola. Buenas tardes. Adrián Luetz, en directo para el Carrusel Deportivo de la cadena SER. Para ti, Sergio Busquets sigue siendo un
So
jugador.
he's asking now about Sergio Busquets, who seems to be a protected player, especially for matches like tomorrow. He says, yeah, it's important that Sergio Busquets is chosen. He's good for the team. The second half, the other day, we were divided a bit, and the midfielders suffered a bit, especially Bussy, and we needed to be a bit more compact. So he's a player that will keep being important for the team. He's the captain. He's not untouchable, but he's a Barca player, and everybody has to be ready to participate, regardless of the number of minutes. Whatever the captains are doing, the youngsters, the new signings, everybody. Bussy needs to be ready, like everybody, to participate.
Hola, Xavi, Germán García.
Hola.
Después del batacazo del otro día, los aficionados salían muy decepcionados,
So
efectivamente.
after the draw the other day, the fans are very disappointed. Have you had to try and cheer up the dressing room? And is there a dire consequence ahead of the match tomorrow? He says, I hope not. He says, we're disappointed, obviously. We gave it our all. We played an excellent first half, really, really good. We had the match under control. And then we lost out on small details. And that is something that counts a lot in Europe. There's a lot of hopes on this season. And obviously, we don't like having that disappointment in Europe. We need to keep moving forward, keep being optimistic. The team is fully committed and dedicated to winning things this season. And it's still early days. We're just in October. The league is very long. We've got the Super Cup, the Cup. We'll see what we can do in Europe. We need to keep working. I don't know any other way of doing it other than keep believing in what we're doing and keep growing.
Hola, Xavi. Buenas tardes. Elena Condis de la cadena COPE. ¿Crees, como tú también has sido capitán, que se está
So she's asking
justo con las vacas sagradas o con los capitanes, sobre todo en
if the complaints against the captains have been unfair in the recent days. It says, I try to listen and read very little because it's this club. And when there's a disappointment at this level, there's a lot of criticism aimed at everyone, the coach, the captains, the new signings. I don't focus too much on this. I keep focused on the work, prepare for the Clasico tomorrow, which is so important. I don't know if it's fair or unfair, but we don't stop to think about that. If we lose or draw a match like the other day that we shouldn't have done, there'll always be criticism. We're Barca, and this club has a lot of demand on it. We need to stay focused on the work. That's the most important thing, the most crucial thing right now, to try and win the match tomorrow. We don't have to be looking at the noise that's out there. We just focus on what's going on in the dressing room to get the good results.
Buenas tardes. Alejandro Segura en directo para el marcador de Radio Marca. Hablabas en la segunda pregunta que el equipo solo ha encajado un gol en Liga. ¿Cómo explicas la diferencia de que haya encajado un gol en Liga?
It says, how is it possible that they've only conceded 1 goal in La Liga and 7 in the Champions League? He says that's difficult to explain because there's been a lot of individual error in the defensive line. There's also got to give some merit to the opposition, but we need to take responsibility for the odd errors that we made, that we weren't concentrating. The defensive line was not on top of it, but the Liga is much better in that sense. We need to keep on that path. Tomorrow is a very important test for us to see if we're growing well.
Buenas tardes. Decía Johan Cruyff que los partidos tenían incidencia en el siguiente siempre.
This is Johan Cruyff.
Quizás inferior al del Real Madrid. ¿Crees que en un clásico
Always focused on the next match? You're talking now against Real Madrid. Do you think this match could change everything in terms of the way that people are feeling compared to the other matches? It says, yeah, it's a match that is the match that gives such little importance to the match before it because you're always focusing on the Clasico. So you can see a little bit the dynamic where we're coming from. I've heard it before as a player. This is last year was a good test for that because we turned up in not a best moment and the match was really good. He says, so we can't foresee anything. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll go out, try and play a good match, compete and bring home the 3 points, which is what we want.
Bona tarda, Xavi.
Bona tarda.
Gràcies a la torre de TV3 Esport 3. Donada la setmana, el partit contra el
Just giving the match drawn against Inter and the match coming up. It's just, do you see this is a good match? You'll win one way or the other? The objective is to win and play well, or play well in the way that we believe in. Keep hold of the ball, be the protagonist, pressing really high, attacking a lot, attacking the best way possible, and then the consequence of that will be the results. The other day we played well and you don't win, and there are the days that you don't play well and you win, like Celta. That's not a good example, Celta. The first half against Inter, there are some very complete matches that we've played this season against Bayern, for example, but we weren't as effective. For us, it's the results what costs us. People are focused a lot on the results. That's normal. It's just, but we need to be positive that we're working well and we keep moving up.
Hola Xavi, soy Basel de Sports. Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Cómo ves la opción de jugar Marcos Alonso con Eric García como parejas centrales?
Do you see the possibility of playing Marcos Alonso alongside Eric Garcia as centre-backs? All of the options are real. Marcos has also played as a centre-back. He was at a good level. We'll see tomorrow. We'll decide. We'll train and then we'll decide the team tomorrow. There's not just Vinicius. There's Benzema, Valverde plays, or there's Kroos, or it's a great team, Madrid, a great opposition. They're very competitive. We need to. They get the best of their qualities, and tomorrow will be a great match. We'll see who we put in at the centre-back, but it's not just for Vinicius, it's for all of Real Madrid and how they play as a collective.
Anaïs Martí de La Vanguardia. Parles de que s'ha de recuperar l'equip a nivell anímic, que s'ha d'anar al Bernabéu amb força per guanyar.
So she says that the team is going well to the Bernabéu as a strong Barca. As a coach, what do you do? Or do you say, or do you have a technique or anything that you do at home that helps you to stay so optimistic ahead of these matches? This is my way of being. I'm optimistic. I believe a lot in the work we're doing. I think we've improved a lot since I've taken control of this team in various aspects. In terms of the results, the shame is the matches against Bayern and Inter, because I think we play well. In the Liga, we're doing well. We just had we're tied on points and leading the classification because of goals. The way we are in the season so far is I can keep being optimistic. I know there's a lot of pressure and criticism. That's normal because it's Barca. Also, I'm a big Barca fan. I like and desire that they do the best, and that's part of the work as well, insisting and believing in what I'm doing. A lot of the players I see very committed. The day that I don't see all of that this way, I'll close up everything and go home. But right now, that's how I feel. I'm happy, I'm good. We've moved on from the difficulties against Inter. The day that I don't see that clearly, I'll stop being a Barca fan and I'll stop doing this work. The day that I don't believe there is a solution, then I'll go home.
Hola, Xavi. Toni Joan Martí de Relevo. Vosaltres sempre voleu ser protagonistes amb pilota, sempre
He says you always want to be dominate the ball, dominate possession. Against Real Madrid, they're really strong in transition. Is the way that they could try and match the speed of Rafinha's and Dembélés and hit you in counter-attack. It's not the idea. The maturity of our players as a team help us to attack and defend. That's not what we want. We try and attack as a united team, position ourselves really well, push them into their own half, try and distribute the ball out there. That's the idea, and that's what we worked on since the first day. The other side of that is that we've got profiles of certain footballers that move well into space, that are strong in position, This is something that we don't like. We don't have profiles of players, especially midfield, that play in that way.
Ayer explicaba Joan Laporta en una entrevista que después
He talks about the interview
al vestuario hablar contigo al despacho que te encontró un poquito así afectado.
about with Joan Laporta, who said that the confidence in Xavi and the team remains intact. Is this something that the president transmitted to you after such a difficult moment? He says, well, that is the highest of confidence. There's a lot of a season left. The president is also very optimistic in that sense. He's a phenomenon in that way because he's always there helping you up. He's positive. It's a shame what happened the other day, but not just the other day, also what happened in Milan and Munich. I insist it was cruel. It's been a cruel Champions League to us this year, but we shouldn't leave the path of the work that we're on. We're on the right path, and the day that I don't think that, I'll also leave. But we're doing well. We need to keep on this path with this work that we're working on.
Hola Xavi, buen día. Jordi Blanco de ESPN. Pensando en el clásico de mañana, ¿a usted le pone cachondo el partido? Viniendo de donde viene de jugar contra el Inter, o preferiría jugar mañana en el Camp Nou contra un equipo?
Tomorrow, would you rather play against a weaker team, or do you think this is something you can rise to? He says, well, he says, I like playing against Madrid. I'm very competitive.
Me gusta, claro que sí, es un clásico y siempre le digo a los futbolistas que a mí me gustaría seguir siendo futbolista para jugar este tipo de partidos.
I always say to the players, I'd like to stay being a player for these sorts of matches. I said it the other day. Going out against Inter in the Camp Nou with all of our fans there, it was amazing, that atmosphere. That's something that makes me want to go back to being a player. It's these sort of matches that you get that feeling as a coach as well. You need to do things differently. You need to go off script and prepare other things, both as a player and a coach. I'm not sure if it's something that turns me on, but it's not the right word, but it's something that motivates me to the maximum. So it's a great opportunity to be the leaders of the competition.
Hola Xavi, buena tarde. Aquí David Ibáñez de Mediaset. Te preguntaban antes esas críticas.
So they asked you before about the criticism that the captains have received after the match against Inter. But there have been a lot of fans that are doubting in you, doubting in the team. You've said this is Xavi's new project. The team's still under construction. We need to be patient. But there's a lot of hope that it was Xavi that was going to get Barca out of that situation. This is what I understand perfectly. I know where I am. There's nothing more to say. Everything. We failed in a moment when we shouldn't have failed, which is the day against Inter. I understand that perfectly. If there's anything I've got, it's empathy. For lucky or unlucky, I've got a lot. But as a Barca fan, I'm sad. We played a lot. We played really well, but we didn't enough to win the match, and it was a real shame. But we can't stop. We need to keep being positive, and in one way or another, I came here under a year ago to try and fix the situation. And I think that's something that can be achieved. And the day that I don't see that clearly, I'll leave as well. It's just, but right now, I still see it as a possibility. I see it as a real possibility. I'm optimistic. I see talent in the squad. We've made some good signings. It's early to make conclusions. Yes, in Europe, we've failed. Well, we're failing. We've not failed mathematically yet, but we're failing. But in La Liga, we're there. We've got the Copa del Rey, the Supercopa. We'll see how far we can get in those, but I think there are ways we can still fix the situation. I'm optimistic.
Hola, Xavi, Josep Soldado para Tres Media. Al hilo de lo que te comentaba antes de la cumbre o reunión que tuviste con el presidente, fue una reunión.
Following on, then.
Arropado, ratificado, no sé.
About the meeting that you had with the president. where the president said, you've not got free reign, but you've got margin to do what you want to do to try and get to the end of the season. He says, yeah, well, we didn't talk about it. This is something that's come out in the press, but we never spoke about me continuing or anything like that. We talked about keep working and next season will come.
Xavi, Hernández de ESPN Brasil, comentabas que no es solo sobre frenar a Vinicius o
You said it's not just to slow down Vinicius or Benzema. But in the other match, in the Bernabeu, you had Araujo to slow down Vinicius on the right wing. Is there anything you can do to reinforce the right wing in defence? Or is it going to be difficult for this match? He says, no, we'll change very few things. Obviously, we've not got Ronald Araujo. He played really well last year, and he's really good at slowing down Vinicius in the one-on-one. Whoever plays on the right will have to be very good defensively. And also, he'll have to have help, people covering him. I see it more as a collective work than individual work. Last year, Ronald had help from the defensive midfielder and the centre-back. So we'll be a bit more comfortable in this sense, because we've not got it this year, but it's all of Real Madrid, the entire team, not just Vinicius in specifically, but the entire team.
Hola, bona tarda. Joan Poquí de Mundo Deportivo. Bona tarda. Algun dia passarà. Podria ser demà el primer primer clàssic sense capitans, sense els capitans fins al camp?
Is there a possibility that this could be the last Clasico with the captains on the pitch?
D'un clàssic. Doncs veurem demà.
He says we'll see tomorrow.
Però ja, si ha passat ja aquesta temporada.
But it's already happened once this season we played without a captain.
O sigui, perquè penseu que ni ho miro, això. És a dir,
I don't even look at that.
em dona la sensació que
It gives me the feeling that
tot s'enfoca pels capitans.
everyone's focused on the captains.
Al final és l'equip, és
At the end of the day, we're talking about the team, the entire unit.
o que ha de sortir 90 minuts.
Maybe the captains go out half an hour or 90 minutes, or doesn't go out at all, but they still have the group.
És la plantilla, no és...
The important thing for this team is the squad. It's not just the 11 that go out and play. I've said this a lot. Football's changed a lot. The 5 substitutions, and everyone's got to be ready to go on.
Hola, Xavi. Aquí el Bernal del diari Ara. Tu creus que a Europa hi ha encara una mica llosa mental o és una cosa més que...
Says, do you think Europe is something that will leave a bit of a mental headache, if you like? This is, or is it something the press are more focused on?
Tu creus que hi ha un component mental o...
Is this just something that you can box away mentally, or is it something that...
Si fos així, ho diria igualment, però...
If it was like this, I'd say so. It's just we drew in the end, the match.
Et tornen a posar per davant, et tornes a empatar i pots fins i tot guanyar el partit. Això
You can draw again and you can still go on to win. We could have still gone on to win. And they were there to the very end. The team had faith, they had belief in themselves. The matches that are completely different, but I saw the team very committed, very fired up, with lots of courage, and they fought to the very end. It didn't work out for various circumstances. It's difficult to explain this as a lot of different circumstances that have come together. I don't think it's unfair either. I don't think we've competed well. But if we compare last year to this year in Europe, I think the feelings were very different. And Barca fans like this, they want to see it in a way that can be positive, or they want to say it that's catastrophic. And we try and look at the positive things, and the positive things that where we're growing and can keep growing.
Hola, Xavi, bona tarda.
Bona tarda.
Ferran Correas de l'Esport. Tu les has vist a tots els colors aquí.
Says you've seen all the different colours here at Barca. What would you say after the match on Wednesday? Do you doubt a little bit in the style? Do you think you're missing some muscle to compete in Europe? I could be in agreement. We need more muscle, but here, brain power to attack better, to pressure, to make decisions, to understand where we are in the match, to look at the opposition and understand that they're in transition. They're playing a 3-on-5. Or...
Sí, que fa falta més múscul, però...
So I think, yes, we need a bit more muscle, but in our brain, a bit more brain for attacking and defending to be more focused. But I don't think it's something that's to do with physical muscle. I don't think so.
Del periòdico. Unint-nos amb això del muscle del cervell, aquests dies en què t'has de basar més? En reconstruir l'ànim?
What are you focusing more on these days? Focusing on firing up the nan and motivating the players, or you're working on the techniques and recovering from these results? He says a bit of everything. He says we've played some videos about optimizing our performance, looking at some errors. The first half we played really well, we attacked really well. The second half also, we started really well, but the errors in the defensive line especially cost us a lot. We were able to keep competing at the maximum until the very end. It's a shame. But it's the result in the end that counts for everything. And that's something that hurts most because we deserve more. Says, but yeah, I talked to the team and say we're competing well, we're on the right path. It's just that we're on the right path and that we're doing well.
Hola, mister. Bona tarda. Aquí a la seva dreta.
Hola, bona tarda.
Rafael Riverso, Tuttosport. Acaba de dir que li agradaria jugar a aquests partits perquè...
It says you'd like to play these matches.
Que s'ho està passant malament a la banqueta. Que...
No.
Does that mean that you're not having a good time on the bench? Did the pressure of a player give you more ahead of these sorts of matches? Or is what's changed in that way?
Comparant, no hi ha color.
There's no way of comparing it. I enjoyed it a lot more as a player than a coach, and I could do a lot more with the ball at my feet than without. That's obvious. But I tried to make sure my players are comfortable, that I assume a lot of the pressure that's coming toward Barca, that they enjoy the competition. Tomorrow is a match to enjoy. On Wednesday it was as well. The atmosphere that was there was amazing. It's a shame about the result. But tomorrow, in terms of the game, they need to enjoy it. They need to go and take the limelight. They need to get the best out of each player. And that's what I have to do as a coach.
No, quan no hi ha... En general, hi ha moments de tot,
This is the moments of everything. This is being the coach for Barca is something to be... There's not a lot of gratitude for. It's much better to be a player for Barca than the coach.
Què tal, Xavi, com estàs? Carlos Monfort, en directe pel Twitch de Gigantes. Courtois baixa demà. Hi ha consigna per xutar més des de fora l'àrea? O has traslladat als teus jugadors la necessitat de xutar més des de fora l'àrea?
Is there a desire to shoot more from outside the area and what the players aren't doing? This is a strength that we need to exploit. We've got players that could shoot from outside the area. The other day we tried it. Marcos had a shot, Rafinha had a go, Usman had a go. It's a feeling that the other day as well was positive, that rather than getting up and crossing it in or individual plays, we need to try and shoot from outside the area. And the other days we did. We tried to shoot and had a go and goal from outside the area. And tomorrow will be another example that we can do that. We can shoot. And we should shoot.
Una última pregunta en anglès, Gemma.
Bona tarda, Xavi.
Bona tarda.
I wanted to ask you about the mindset of the players. It's just 48 hours since that setback. If they already changed, and if you see that this El Clásico like an opportunity to move on.
Exactly. Yes. This is the way. It's a big opportunity for us tomorrow. We are leaders in the competition, and we want to finish the game, continue being leaders. So it's a big challenge for us. We need to change the chip. It's a different competition, and in this competition, La Liga, we are doing so well. So keep going, and being positive. I think everything will be okay.
Gràcies, l'equip s'entrena a les 4. Primers 15 minuts oberts als mitjans.
The words there of our head coach Xavi Hernández, talking about how this Clásico could be a moral boost for this team, of course, to get back to, or to keep up that fighting spirit rather in La Liga, still top of the league, unbeaten. This is a word that I feel like it needs to be repeated and reminded as well to all of us watching, all Barça fans. We're unbeaten in this league so far, Natalia.
Yes, and with only one goal conceded, which was also something that Xavi mentioned, and as he said, he's seeing the team brave, well prepared, optimistic, so hopefully we are going to see it tomorrow on the pitch.
How do you control? I mean, there's a fine line between bravery and, as we heard Rick Sharma talk about as well, perhaps desperation. How do you think he can control that?
I think he can start by controlling it with the players that he puts on the pitch, because there are several players who I believe can exemplify both bravery and control at the same time. I think there are others who, given their age, position, and standing within the club, that they are one or the other. Just as a small example, like Balde, for example. Control right now is not yet fully a part of his repertoire, but bravery, you bet. He's going down the wing at 100 miles an hour. So this is, for Xavi, it's another big decision that he's going to have to make in terms of who he puts on the pitch.
Well, let's connect now again with Bruno Ballester, who's of course still there at the Ciutat Esportiva and witnessed the press conference of Xavi Hernández. Bruno, over to you.
Yes, guys, I will divide it like this press conference has been into two blocks. First one about El Clásico. Some impressions from Xavi Hernández. First of all, that the 4-0 from last season, of course, can be a good reference to try and do the same things that worked well last campaign. He was the manager, of course, and part of the group also was also there. The good news that Koundé is going to be available. Not close at all if he's going to be in the starting lineup or not, but at least he's going to be available for sure. That it's a game that it doesn't really matter how you arrive in El Clásico, as we always say. He has also confirmed it. It's a different game. It's another world. So it's, of course, important what can happen in the game, not before. And that he would prefer to be a player and not a manager in this kind of games, to play with a full stadium motivated. He has been more or less summarizing the ideas about the Clásico and in general dynamics about the project. Lots of questions, of course, after the big the draw the other day and the disappointing result in the Champions League. He's optimistic. He knows that the project is in the good dynamic. They are doing well in the league, not in Europe, but he feels and he's optimistic with the squad. And the day that he doesn't see that he is the right person to try and bring the club again into success, that day he will leave the club. But so far he is optimistic and he feels comfortable and in a good position to continue leading this project, because he thinks that things are improving a lot and it's quite early yet to reach conclusions.
Exactly, Bruno, and Xavi being an innate optimist, as you yourself mentioned as well. There was a very interesting question posed, which I found, comparing last year's team to this year's team, also talking about how last year the team maybe wasn't in their top form. Xavi mentioned it as well, but then ended up winning 4-0 in the Bernabeu. So this team has already shown to be able to face adversity in a very optimistic and also passing the test in flying colors.
Absolutely. These kind of games, the shape that you arrive, it doesn't really count, because you have to be on the field, ready to go. The mentality from all the players, winning players, like for example Sergio Busquets, that tomorrow if Barça wins and he plays, he can equal Gento with 22 wins in 41 El Clásicos played. So winning mentality, players that know what it means to face El Clásico, other that will play for the first time, like Lewandowski, although he knows what it means to score against Real Madrid, 6 goals in the Champions League in his previous classes. So it's also a game that, apart from all the footballistic reasons, the mental aspect, it plays a big part.
Well, thank you for that, Bruno. We're going to move on now here in the studio from one historic Clásico, the one just last year where we managed to walk away with a 4-0 victory, to other Clásicos. There have been a string of them. In fact, why don't we hear from Rafinha as he goes over some historic Clásicos and his favorite one in the Bernabeu.
Sin duda. Bueno, lo partido que él marcó dos goles, yo estaba mirando Bueno, no me recuerdo mucho porque era un poco más pequeño, pero bueno, un partido que está siempre, si mira en YouTube, está siempre los mejores momentos de él. Y bueno, fue un partido para él muy especial, creo yo, y bueno, espero hacer un poco do que él ha hecho en Barça en los clásicos.
Well, we're seeing images now of that historic Clásico that took place in the 2005-06 season, where Eto'o opened the scoring, but Spence, Natalia, without a shadow of a doubt, the highlight, the main man of that game is the one hugging Ronaldinho, or Eto'o rather, and that is of course Ronaldinho.
Yes, definitely. And you know, I was also, as Rafinha said, that he was very little. I was also very little during that game, so I don't remember it very well.
How old were you? I shouldn't ask you that. Actually, go.
Little.
Little.
Both of us.
Yes.
That's funny. It was a beautiful game, of course, one where really Ronaldinho put his name on the map, so to speak, if he hadn't already. It was the Clásico where the entire Bernabeu actually stood up and gave the Brazilian star a standing ovation. This iconic image here of the
That's something I remember,
father and the son.
Yes.
And of course, a few years later, we had another historic one, even though Real Madrid took the lead, in fact, with this header. I think it was Higuaín. Higuaín, now retired, that took the lead, but then Barça made a heck of a comeback, and this one finishing 6-2 in favor of the Catalan side.
Yeah, and I think Higuaín's still got one more little game or two in his arsenal for in the MLS. But in the meantime, yeah, this is.
Talk about iconic images, Spence.
This is
Remember
the
this,
one, right?
the kissing of the brazaleta, the captain's armband by Pujol.
Yeah, I'm wondering, all of these big Barca wins come with a stamp of an era. You see, you know, Ramos scoring. You see Pujol. You see Henry. You see Eto'o. Depending on when you're at, and of course, there's this guy.
And this, of course, the game where Pep also put Messi as a false nine, something that really threw off the opposition. And then, Natalia, we spoke about this iconic image.
Yeah.
This game had a few, and Piqué is stretching out the shirt. And then this one, last year, the 4-0 in the Bernabeu, celebrated hugely, of course, by this team.
Well, that's why I say is that each big win comes with a stamp of an era, and last year's big win was different. Because here you've got Dani Alves with his 400th game for Barca. They've got Ansu's shirt because he wasn't able to play. You've got Aubameyang, who was a big part of things.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that game and those highlights, which will be played forever in a big Barca win that helped turn their season around, is a different era than what I think we're going to see tomorrow.
Natalia, 400 games as well for Dani Alves.
A Barca legend, what we can say. And yeah, I think very emotional moment for him. I mean, this Clásico, and yeah, big win. And yeah, hopefully we are going to say something like this tomorrow. I'm not sure if it's going to be 4-0, but hopefully we are going for a win.
Well, tomorrow is, of course, the first official Clásico of this year's campaign. But we got a little taste of what's to come already in the preseason, Spence. This one being played on your home turf over in Las Vegas, and this one being won as well by Barça, by that beautiful goal scored by Rafinha, who we heard from earlier.
Yeah, home turf is a little bit more of a stretch, but I'll take it because it's a long ways away from where I've been. But this,
here it comes.
This is a brilliant strike. I think this is the second game after Rafinha scored the goal against Inter Miami when he took it just plucked it out of the air.
Yeah,
and so those 2 games in, and you're thinking, okay, something looks different this year, and it's been that way. It has looked different for Barca in terms of their crispness, their movement on the ball, their movement off the ball. And this goal sort of exemplifies what these players are capable of when they rise to the biggest occasions.
The game ended 1-0, but there were some more highlights to come. It could have, or maybe it should have ended with a higher goal margin for Barça. Courtois this time coming up massive. Lewandowski hadn't scored yet at this point. Of course, he has in the past as a Bayern and Dortmund player, but not yet for Barça. Courtois not playing tomorrow, though, so in that sense...
Hadn't scored for Barça at all yet.
Oh, not at all, exactly.
That was his first game, I believe, right? Because he didn't play in the Inter Miami game. So that was his first game in Barca colors, period.
Yes, that's true. And as you mentioned, Courtois was very, very frustrating on that day.
It was massive.
Yeah, and we're not going to see him tomorrow. We're going to see Andre Wynn.
That's right.
And yeah, I think it's also, you know, looking for perspectives of this player is going to be huge also for him. I really hope that he's going to be tested, you know, on much occasions by Barca players, and yeah, and hopefully, as a Barca fan, I need to say that hopefully, you know, he's not on his best day tomorrow.
Spence, hold that thought for 1 minute, because we're going to hear now from the protagonist from Las Vegas, the goal scorer, Rafinha, and his thoughts on that Clásico.
Eu vi Militão com o balão e bueno, eu imaginava que ele tentava cambiar o juego, ¿no? Eu pensei que iba a ser el pase para el otro central, entonces intenté anticipar un poco y bueno, él intentó, creo que en el último momento intentó hacer un cambio de pase para el lateral y el balón cayó en mis pies. Solo pensé en controlar bien para poder rematar y que remate. Hacer un así en el próximo partido me va muy bien.
Well, the thoughts there and the memories, the good memories, without a doubt, for Rafinha on that Clásico. We, of course, hope that he's going to get many more chances to score cracking goals like that. But on that note, why don't we head on over to the Ciudad Esportiva and connect once more with our pitch side reporter, Bruno Ballester, who's standing next to another international journalist. Bruno, over to you.
Well, it's an interesting debate, of course, all these historic Clásicos, and here we are with Gemma Soler from ESPN, that we also want to hear her opinion about. Gemma, which one do you think it's the best Clásico, the best performance of Barça in recent years in the Santiago Bernabéu?
I'm sorry, but I have to say two of them because it's, you know, it's very different when you live it as a supporter or someone that watches football and when you work. So I must say the 2-6, it was very special. I watched it at home with friends and it was exciting. It was an amazing game and it was so much fun. And then it's special because I was there. I was working on 2019 Clásico at El Bernabéu with that crazy, unexpected ending with Messi taking the T-shirt showing to Barça supporters. So it has to be these two Clásicos.
Gemma, I don't know how do you see both teams and your predictions of what can happen in this Clásico. Probably Barça arriving in a weakest form, but a Clásico is always a Clásico.
Yeah, we have the recent example of what happened last year. I was there too. I remember we did like this year a huge pre-game coverage and we were all talking, oh, what's Barcelona going to do? And then we saw that. That was amazing. No one could have expected that. Now I think it's quite equal because Barcelona La Liga has been perfect. Almost perfect. And we're talking about the two most competitive teams in La Liga in all aspects, especially in the final third. There will be some important key players that are not going to be there in Barcelona, but also in Real Madrid. So I think it's a game where everything can happen. I think if it was another game for Barcelona, maybe the mindset wouldn't be the one they have to, because what happened against Inter, but El Clásico, I'm sure it won't have any kind of effect.
Thank you very much, Gemma, and see you tomorrow there.
See you there.
Well, the words here from our colleague Gemma Soule. Yeah, I will agree with Gemma, because for me also the 6-2 in the Bernabeu, it's also my favorite one. But last year, my first experience at the Bernabeu, that 4-0 was also quite impressive.
Not bad at all, Bruno. The 6-2, the 4-0s, all of course amazing clásicos that will go down in history. But just to finish off this segment here, talking about historic clásicos that we remember that will, for years to come. What is your first memory of a clásico? What's the very first memory you have of any clásico, Natalia?
So, not surprised, because I will go with that one 2-6 or 6-2 if you want, because at that time I had already, the channel all, set at my house in Poland.
Okay.
So it's that one definitely, also an amazing season. I mean, those La Liga champions, Copa del Rey, amazing result in an amazing season, so I will go for that.
Were you all huddled around the television set with the entire family or friends, or what was the atmosphere like?
Yeah, especially with my dad, because my sisters, who started to watch the games with me a little bit later when they, were a little bit more grown up.
Okay.
So yeah, well, especially with my dad, yes.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, like I said, we were a little bit late to the party in some things in the U.S.
True.
But right as I was really starting to get into it, like full on every year, I remember before La Liga, it was more Champions League that I was focusing on, that we were focusing on, the friend group and everything. And I remember 2011 and Barça and Madrid playing in the Champions League, and they as I'm starting to learn about all of these different players and histories of the clubs, the people around me who knew the sport a lot better at the time than I did are saying, yeah, there's this guy, his name's Messi, he's pretty good. Like, you should just, if you're trying to learn about Barca, just keep your eye on that guy. And he goes and scores 2 goals, and that was sort of when I realized, oh, okay, this is not just a normal club, this is something different. And there were a couple of red cards in the game, so it was feisty, and it was one that you don't forget.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, in my case, you got to rewind the clock a little bit further, go all the way back to the days of Johan Cruyff as a coach. I think it was 91-92 season. They're going to correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the 5-0. Of course, I was living in Holland at the time with Johan Cruyff being the coach for Barça. It made news and headlines all around Holland, and well, these gray hairs don't lie, Natalia and Spence. It's been quite some time since these that I've been watching these clásicos take place. But that's neither here nor there. Let's focus again on the protagonists. In fact, at this point in time, we've got a very exclusive interview coming your way with the Polish striker, with Robert Lewandowski, who sat down with Barça TV Plus, and well, take a look at this 20-minute special of Robert Lewandowski about his time here at Barça. Enjoy.
Està sent el màxim golejador de l'equip en aquest inici de temporada. El fitxatge referència ha generat il·lusió des de la seva arribada a la pretemporada. Cada partit a l'Spotify Camp Nou el seu nom és corejat, i tot i que ha jugat ja partits contra el Real Madrid, serà la primera vegada que disputi un partit oficial davant del conjunt blanc. Serà el seu primer clàssic amb la samarreta del Barça. Estem al costat de Robert Lewandowski. Hi Robert, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you very much.
We will talk later about the game, but first of all we want to know, how can you describe your first months here in the club?
Oh, I have to say that I feel very, very great in the team. When I see the atmosphere, when I see everything what's going on, I'm very glad to be here. I'm very happy to be here.
We want to talk also about the sports, but first of all, we want to talk with you and for your family. It seems that you're very adapted, completely adapted to this city. How important is that for you?
You know, before when I came to Barcelona, not only to the club but to the city, I know that I don't want to lose the time for the adapting. I know that adaptation for me should be quicker, because I know that in my age, with my experience, I knew that what I should do to adapt quicker, faster, because also that was very important, not only for me but also for the team to help them, to help myself, and showing my skills, my performance directly from the first or second games. That's why before I knew that I have to be also focused on this kind of things, because it's also important that your family, your feeling is also the part of the football, and that's why I try to do my best also to adapt very fast in the city and also to the club.
We talk also about the pitch, but it seems that the fans are falling in love with you so early. Did you expected that?
I have to say that from the first day, on the first days, the first game, I got this feeling that the fans support me a lot, and I'm very appreciative. I'm very glad of this because it means a lot for me, and I'm very happy. I love with fans from Barcelona what they're doing, not only for me but for us. And I have to say that for me is something special and a great feeling.
Did you believe that you would score so many goals at the beginning of the season? You scored a lot of goals in all your career, but do you also believe that it can happen?
I didn't think about how many goals I can score from the beginning. For sure, I wanted to score so many as possible. Of course, I knew that maybe the first weeks for me will be more difficult, more tough than later. But after second or third game, I knew it doesn't matter how many goals I already score or I'm going to score. I have to be here to help my teammates, to help Barcelona to winning the game, to score the goals, and to not think about it's less or too much. I try to do my job. It doesn't matter for me. Important is if I score, I know that I can score even more, and this is my focus of this game.
What is the most surprising thing you have found for the moment at the club?
Oh, a lot. From the beginning, I knew that we have the huge potential with the players. They have amazing, huge talent, and we have to working hard to get our performance, to getting better and to playing better. And that is the process for sure, because the team is a little bit rebuilding, and I knew that with these guys we have achieved a lot.
What is the main difference between the Bundesliga and La Liga? I know that you only played La Liga for 2 months, but do you think that there's so very big difference? In the summer you said that you thought about it.
Of course, every league has is a difference between if you compare the Bundesliga and La Liga, probably till now I saw that more teams wanted to play more technical football. In Bundesliga, the teams is more physically more. That they play very very well defensive, but also in La Liga for sure that in the future that will be the teams what they're gonna play very deep, very defensive, it doesn't matter how different are the league. I play already so many games also in Champions League and against the different teams in different league. So for me it's important. It doesn't matter how our opponent going play. Have to be ready. We have to be ready to beat them.
We will talk about the season right now. We'll talk later about the Clasico. But the club and also the team needed to achieve early a good results for the beginning of the season, especially in La Liga. You are doing it. How does the team believe it?
In the league, if you want to think about to be on the top every single game, you have to thinking and you have to go into the pitch that you won't win these 3 points. And sometimes it doesn't matter how you play or how hard it is. In the end, if you have these 3 points, that you make one step closer to be on the top. And we have to think about this all of the time. It doesn't matter where we are playing. It doesn't matter against who we are playing. Always, if in our head should be 3 points, the next win, the next 3 points, and be focused all of the time.
How important is for you the fact that if you win at Bernabeu, you will be the leaders of the league? How important is for you that position? Because for the beginning of the season, you are over Real Madrid for the thing in the first round.
First of this El Clasico is always like something special, some different game. But in the end, it's the next game in La Liga, and for us, of course, that is something special to win against Real Madrid and El Clasico. But also, if we are playing against the team that we are the favorite and we are playing away, for example, for our focus should be the same. Every 3 points for us means that we make step closer to be on the top, to be the first in the league, in the table, and that's why in El Clasico, of course, for the fans, is the most interesting game in the season. But for us, to show our skills and performance this game means also that we cannot forget on the rest of the games.
You know also what is to play a Clásico, but it won't be the same. You played a friendly game, so I don't know what are your members. What do you think in that game in Las Vegas? What is the main image, the main picture that it comes for your head?
Yeah, in Las Vegas in El Clásico, I saw already what does it mean to play in El Clásico, and this part of this huge game, this atmosphere, and what does it mean for the fans, for everyone in the club as well, this game. So I understood already after this game that it's the big game and something, the huge challenge, something special. And I'm ready for this. And maybe for me that was good that we were playing against Real Madrid in Las Vegas, just to know it. What does it mean to be there, to playing against Real Madrid in El Clásico, and now in La Liga that will be for sure the different game, the new game. But I have some kind of experience of this. Of course, I was playing against Real Madrid so many times, but now I'm ready for this game, and I'm very happy to play in El Clásico.
You said one thing that was going to be my next question is what does it mean, the Clásico, for you? In other interviews, a lot of teammates said that it's one of the biggest things that you can achieve as a player. You played big games in Bayern and also in Borussia, but what does it mean, the Clásico, for you before playing an official Clásico?
Oh, I have to say, always when I was watching the El Clásico, that kind of dream of mine was playing in this game, and now I have opportunity to play in El Clásico in Madrid, and it's the huge dream as well, but it's also the huge challenge, and I hope so that we can give the fans, our fans, a lot of happiness after the game and a lot of enjoying also the game. In the end, we can show our best football and show that we can win in Madrid and coming back with the 3 points to Barcelona.
We're going to make an exercise of memory. What is the thing you remember the most for a Clásico game? I don't know. I mean, a goal, a game, a special game you watch on the TV?
Oh, directly now, what I have in front of my eyes, that is the goals from Ronaldinho. In El Clásico, this solo move, and in the end to put the ball from the 20 meters, I think that I have directly. You know, I have a lot of memories or goals from these games because all world watching this game. Some kind of fans were waiting all year or all season to watch this game. So I know what kind of expectations are in this game. And yeah, this kind of games make also the new story and also the new history.
You played biggest game also with a lot of rivalry, but I want to know if you can compare, we would compare this Clásico game for another one that you played in your career.
Oh, you know, I know what does it mean to a derby also in Germany, like Dortmund against Schalke. I have to say that also one of the biggest game in Germany and in Europe as well. So you know, that's I can compare this kind of game also in the big game in Champions League, the final of Champions League, the semi-final, quarter-final. If you're playing very important game on the final of the cup as well. So I can imagine what kind of feeling I get in this day in this game. I'm ready for this. I'm very exciting, and I'm very happy to play in this El Clásico.
Do you change your routines or something before this kind of games? You always play all the games with the same routines. I don't know if you're thinking about it more than another games. How is Lewandowski before this kind of games?
I know that automatically, if you think about this game, that everyone talk about this game, so you know that something big is coming. So automatically, your brain, your body are getting more. I don't want to say more focus because always we are focused of the game, but more attention maybe of this game, and maybe something more important is to stay more calm, to more relaxed, because around the game is a lot of emotion, a lot of expectation, and also that the player is feeling that. And sometimes it's good to don't think about this too much, to stay calm, to be more relaxed, because if you're thinking too much, if you are too your muscle are too strong and too too much you want to show on the game, sometimes doesn't help you, and that's why it's also important to be on the side of this. But if you go in on the pitch, then you can show your best skills.
I don't know if in your brain you have a picture for the 4 goals you scored to Real Madrid with Borussia. The main question that all the people did to you in the first time here in Barcelona.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions about this, to scoring 4 goals in semi-final Champions League against Real Madrid. It's been a lot. It's like the huge history, the huge story, not about only the games against Real Madrid, also when we are talking about Champions League. And I have still this in memories, even that the next games against Real Madrid, for me, that was something special always. And I loved playing against Real Madrid because that to playing against big team, one of the best team in the Europe, in the world, and for me something special. And I'm ready for these big games, and I'm always want to play in this kind of games.
You played in Bernabeu and you suffered tough games with Bayern, with Borussia, sometimes good, sometimes wrong and bad. But I don't know if this kind of defeated, for example, you suffered in the last times against Bayern, is motivating you more to play that kind of game. Is something that you are thinking it or not? It's different seasons, different teams, different games.
No, I don't think about this too much. I know that it's different team, different season, different moment, different timing as well. So different players as well in Real Madrid, also in my new teammates. So it doesn't matter. I'm always more focused of our job, of what we should to do as a team, how we should to play as a team, and what we should to try to beat them. Not thinking about myself, only about them. No, if we show our best football, we show our performance, good performance, that we have for sure opportunity to beat them and winning this game.
We focus especially in the game, in the game that can be in Bernabeu. What are the main dangers that do you think we have to take care for Real Madrid, for this Real Madrid season?
Oh yeah, I think that Real Madrid always playing very, very well in defensive. They have amazing players defensive, in the middle as well, and obviously they can always do something, and we have to ready for this. We have to be also patient with the ball. Without the ball, we have to be ready to attack them, also to get back the ball. And in the end, that's this, the top team. They since years they know how to play. They have a huge experience also. And I know that to playing against Real Madrid is always tough, always difficult, and this time will be for sure the same.
We'll talk about the team, because I know that you don't like to talk about yourself. You always said that all the achievements of the team are absolutely collective. It seems that you're very understanding very well with especially with your attacking teammates. How is the connection in the first games, and if you can describe how is the feeling to play with the kind of players that you never played before with them?
If you talk also outside the training, also the pitch with the teammates, that you have more opportunity to understand how or what they want to play, or how they want to play. And if you tell them that the next situation will be the same, that you can play pass or you can make the cross like that I will be ready. And after a few weeks, after so many training session, also the games, you learn also your teammates, how they playing, how they thinking, how they can play, how they want to play. And if I know that they are ready to play like that, I will be also ready. So this communication also important. It is important to understand my teammates, to understand our tactic, our idea. So then on the game is also easier, because you do your movement automatically, and you know that the ball can coming in this right moment and right timing in this place.
You said there's something for here. You said in the summer that you were very surprised with the young players. You talk about Bravery, you talk about Xavi. How is to play with them? You can be a reference for them also, but how is to play with that kind of young players that you play against them in the last seasons?
I saw already here Xavi, Pedri, Ansu, Ferran as well, that they are very young and they have huge talent and amazing potential, and every week, every month they can show the best football, and I know that in every season they're going to play better, yeah. And that's why I think that to understand with this kind of young players is also important for them, because I know that they need more experience. They need this opportunity, this confidence on the pitch, and if they are confident, they can show best performance, best football. And for the young players, it's not easy. Sometimes you have to help them to help them on the pitch to show what they have, and that's why I know that my experience can help them a lot, and I try to give my advice, not too much, but if I see something that maybe they can take it and they can use it.
One of the names that you said is Ansu. It's not an easy season for him after a long time injury. Do you think that you can be a good reference, of course, for the position, for the experience you have, for how the fans loved him? I don't know if you can be a good reference for him. How are you seeing him in this first part of the season?
Of course, for him that was before the last season, so when he was injured, very tough, and it's normally that you need the time to coming back on the track, and it's not easy for him as well, because if you are so many months injured, that you need also time to getting back on the track, and now he's on the good way to coming back on his form that he had before injured. And he has to be patient. This is normal. The young player won't play directly, won't play from the first minute, but sometimes you have to stay calm because your time is coming. And for sure, Ansu in this season show a lot of times he's best.
For the end of the interview, we will make a little game, Robert, if you can complete the sentence. So the first one is, if I score in a Clasico, will be?
That will be special goal for me.
Of course. And to win the Clasico will be?
Will be a huge step forward for us.
It's a good message. So for the end of the interview, Robert, what is the kind of message that we can show to the fans? You know that it's a special game for the fans, so we want to send a message to them for how is the team preparing for this game.
For sure, we show and we try to do our best. We will playing very hard. We will playing and work very hard in this game. So we try to do our best, and with the support of the fans, I know that for us will be easier, even that we're going to play in Madrid. But this support means a lot for us, and I know for the fans that they will be behind us. And for sure, in this game, we can show our best, and we can all together win El Clasico.
Thank you, Robert. Good luck and have fun in this kind of game.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Les paraules de Robert Lewandowski, el màxim golejador del Barça en aquest inici de temporada. Ja sap el que és jugar un partit contra el Madrid. Va ser amistós, ja ha dit, no serà el mateix. Ara tenim moltes ganes de veure aquest Real Madrid-Barça d'aquest proper diumenge a 1:45 de la tarda al Santiago Bernabéu.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that exclusive interview initially on Barça TV Plus, but now shared with all of our viewers on YouTube as well, as we're watching some of the goals that Robert Lewandowski has scored in a Barça shirt. Certainly not a stranger to scoring goals, neither against Real Madrid, as we heard 4 goals that he scored with Borussia Dortmund in the semi-final. I think 2 more with Bayern as well. And Spence, Natalia, I mean, here's a guy that has hit the ground running and now has also become the team's top goal scorer and the one, of course, for La Liga as well. Yes. Unstoppable.
And also, as I think Xavi said, as Bravery said once at the press conference, he's also right now one of the dressing room's leader. So it's also important to notice how important position he achieved in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, there are very few players who can come into a new environment like this and immediately establish himself as one of the premier leaders of the club, and he's one of those guys. This is what he does, and it's the culture that he's built around himself. We talk a lot so often about culture for a team, but he's a player who then brings a culture and a work ethic and a talent level to another club, and I think he's instilling that very well this year. And as he still says, there's still a long way to go.
That winning mentality that you are referring to, Spence, we heard him talking about it as well. Our colleague Mark Brau asked him if he could be a reference point in that sense to perhaps the younger players, the Gavis, but in particular Ansu Fati, of course, who in particular last season didn't have the best of seasons due to his injuries, but all of us Barça fans have got so much hope instilled in the Barça number 10. How do you think that a player like Robert Lewandowski can be as Mark put it, a reference point for Ansu?
I think he can be the type of leader who leads by example, but the work ethic is not just made on the pitch, it's not just in training, it's how you carry yourself throughout the season and the off season. What's your workout regimen like? We know, at least from Ansu's perspective specifically, that there's been a lot of rehabilitation that goes on with getting his body into the right shape, and I think there's a long way to go in terms of Barça and Lewandowski encouraging this team forward. There's a lot of work for Ansu as well to do to get his body to peak performance, and he's talked about that. Ferran Torres has talked about that too. It's this all-encompassing work ethic that goes on and off the pitch.
Well, there Spencer sharing his thoughts on Lewandowski. Why don't we hear from his teammates now about their impressions and opinions on Barça's number 9?
Bé, és una referència per nosaltres, crec que ho està demostrant. Crec que aquests 2-3 últims partits no l'hem sabut trobar com havíem trobat al principi. Crec que això també és feina nostra, no? Al final, nutrir el Robert en aquest cas a dintre l'àrea, que allà doncs, és un jugador determinant.
Bueno, Leva aporta muchísimo a nuestro equipo. Bueno, espero que él pueda ayudarnos a salir con la victoria el próximo partido y que logremos conseguir muchísimas cosas con él, con los goles que él hace para nosotros.
Bueno, talento tiene de sobra realmente y nada, ya lo ha demostrado durante muchos años y nada, para nosotros es un jugador que sabemos que tenemos un delantero que nos fija también a muchos jugadores, que el contrario también se piensa 2 veces por si salta o no y nada, deja muchos espacios para otros y delante de la portería obviamente es un fenómeno.
The thoughts there of Marc-André Ter Stegen, Rafinha and Eddie Garcia on their new teammate, on Robert Lewandowski. Why don't we take a look at the statistics of him so far this season? They've been impressive to say the least. You can see there on your screens, minute played 629, goals scored 9, total assists 2, and goals against Madrid 6. And of course, taking into account all of the previous times that he has encountered Los Blancos.
Wow.
Yep. Amazing stats, and hopefully, the last number would be bigger after tomorrow's game.
Well, another player who's in tip-top form of late this season is, of course, Marc-André Ter Stegen. Marc-André Ter Stegen, who the last time that he conceded a goal was, if I'm not mistaken, minute 6 of matchday 1 against Real Sociedad in La Liga. Since then, he has just conceded just the 1 goal. 2 goals?
Matchday 2, no?
Matchday 2, of course. Yeah, sorry. And, having a stellar season, Spence being a focal point in that defense and just letting nothing through and hit his back of the net.
Yeah, some of the saves he made, we're looking at here on during the week, kept Barça in the game.
Absolutely.
Even more so than I think Xavi would admit they deserve to be.
Yeah, it's not often that, a goalkeeper will concede 3 goals, Natalia, but still could be considered man of the match.
We were talking, I think Robert has mentioned during that show that he picked his man of the match points, but then he mentioned, I forgot about Marc-André Ter Stegen, who had an amazing performance and who kept us at at the equal level. In terms of we get a draw at the final, and he's about yet to keep a clean sheet in the Champions League, but in La Liga he has an amazing run, and I just hope that tomorrow he's going to keep another clean sheet.
Well, why don't we hear from the man himself, as Marc-André Ter Stegen also sat down with Barça TV Plus to discuss his great form.
Now it's a moment to also recover, not only physically but also mentally, of course. There's still a little bit of hope, and of course we don't depend on us anymore, but now we have a new challenge ahead of us, and we need to be very focused on this, I think, because otherwise it will be even more complicated. So we're going to face the game as always, we want to recover now and then looking forward to the game on the weekend. Yeah, definitely. I think we defended very well so far. Attacking-wise, of course, we scored many goals, and this is also the objective for now. In El Clasico, of course, we're going to face a very good team, very competitive team. But of course, we want to keep on going, and we want to win the game to have also a bit more space towards them. Well, I think I started well, but also I had some time to disconnect. I said it already before, that sometimes it's not only about physically, if not also about mentally, to just calm down and probably sometimes not to think about football. And this really helps, no? Because you charge your batteries full, and yeah, this is what at the end also gives you a lot of power towards the month you're facing. And so I was very ready when I started, and now we're in a good situation, I think, in La Liga, and of course I'm trying to do my best in each and every game. And it's been tough so far, but I think we're doing good. Well, first of all, for me, it's always the most important is the win, and that we are successful as a team. I think this is the most important, and right now we're on a very good way, and we have to keep on focusing on what we have to do. No, at the end, what counts is only winning, and if we can keep on doing the same work as we did so far and not conceding, would be, of course, perfect for all of us. Not only for me, but also for the team as we're defending all together. The next one. No, of course, I love to play big games. Last year we had a very fantastic game, and I think this is not normal, no? But now it starts from 0-0 again, and I'm really looking forward to the next game because this is when you can go and enjoy the game again.
The words there of Barça's goalkeeper Marc-André Ter Stegen. Bruno, we're connecting with you because you're going to break down a little bit in further detail this formidable form that the German goalkeeper is in.
Yes, guys, now here from the Tito Vilanova pitch, where in around 15 minutes players will be here in the training session. What to say about Marc-André Ter Stegen? What a season, the one he's having. We have some stats, some numbers also for the German goalkeeper. Has played all games in La Liga, 720 minutes, just one goal conceded. Incredible stats, thanks of course to all his saves, 20 in total. This means 2.5 per game, so unbelievable season, the one that Ter Stegen is having. Unfortunately for football fans, and in this case I think Barca are a bit lucky that he's not going to face Courtois in this duel, as Ancelotti confirmed this morning that Courtois will be one of the absences for Real Madrid. Big absence, but in last performances Courtois also has been really important. Let's see if Ter Stegen tomorrow has to participate, if he can do it successfully well, and of course continues fighting to increase his record of consecutive number of minutes keeping a clean sheet in La Liga. Guys, now question for you. Who do you think is the most informed player of FC Barcelona arriving to this Clasico?
Over to our panel. You want me to give you options?
We'll take options, and I might still choose someone else. But of course, we welcome choices.
Lewandowski, Pedri, or Marc-André Ter Stegen?
I have to. Man, that's tough.
Yep.
Or the other player of your choice.
You have anything off the top of your head yet? Because I mean, for me, amongst those options to begin with, I think Lewandowski is the easy answer. It's a different type of form to be in, whether you're Ter Stegen or Lewandowski. Give me an extra half second. I'll think on it.
Natalia, what you got?
Yeah, I think I would go for an easy one. So for me, it's Lewandowski.
Okay. Bit of bias there, maybe, no?
Excuse me?
A bit of bias? No, you're rooting for your hometown.
Yes. I think I am a little bit biased at this point.
It's the easy but also valid option.
It's the easy, as he's my compatriot, I really have fingers crossed for him tomorrow, and I really want him to have an amazing performance, and just I hope he's making all proud tomorrow.
I think you could go from each level and pick out a player, Lewandowski being one. I think in the midfield, Xavi has been in excellent form. And then even in defense, because there have been so many changes, I think Marcos Alonso has proven that very rarely will he make a mistake. And that's something that Barca have needed in this moment right now.
All right. I'll take that. But moving on, why don't we shed a spotlight on our opponents, our rivals on the day. Real Madrid also coming in good form, we can say. They're sharing the top of the league, of course, shared on points, that is, with Barça. The only difference there is the goal difference, having scored a goal less and have conceded a lot more goals than Barça. Having conceded 7 goals. We're seeing images here of the training, the players hard at work. But big news, of course, the fact that Courtois is not available. Benzema's back. He had been out for a long time. So he's back for Los Blancos. And Rudiger, of course, also he will be able to play with a face mask after suffering that knock in the Champions League clash.
Yeah, so perhaps maybe I would pose a question to the live chat on YouTube, which would be, because Courtois is not going to play, but what would you rather have? Would you rather, and this is sort of a two-part question, from Barca's perspective, would you rather deal with the defensive backline injuries that you're dealing with now, or have a healthy backline and no Ter Stegen? Mm-hmm. And on the other side, would you rather have the defensive woes and injuries on Madrid's side, perhaps Rudiger, Militao, some of these others not play, and Courtois in net, or Courtois out as he is? Two-part question. Would you rather have the defense or the keeper out for Barca, or the defense or the keeper out for Madrid? Let's see what the live chat says.
Okay. What are you going for?
In the perspective of Barca, I think we still have a quality in the back, so I would like to see Ter Stegen and the defense we have right now. In terms of Real Madrid, I will go for another, because I think Courtois, especially last season, he was absolutely number one, maybe not counting Benzema, but I think he's a club player for them. He kept them alive in so much games, and he was very frustrating for the opponent. And if you remember those important games, especially in Champions League last year, so he was absolutely a club player for them.
And we were watching also the highlights of the preseason game as well. I mean, Courtois is the one that prevented, of course, a higher scoreline. But on that note, Natalia, we're going to connect one more time with Bruno, as he's also going to give us a little bit more detail on our opponents of the day. Bruno.
Yes, guys. As you were talking in the studio, of course, it's going to be a big absence, the one of Courtois, no doubt at all. Rudiger, in the end, he's going to be ready to play tomorrow with a mask after the problems he suffered against Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League. But of course, apart from the absence of Courtois, Madrid will have all the rest of the important players available. The big doubt up front to see if Rodrigo is going to be in the starting lineup, or is going to be Fede Valverde up front, of course, sharing the forward line with Benzema and Vinicius. There was a question to Xavi how to stop Real Madrid, how to stop Vinicius in this case, and Xavi referred, how to stop Real Madrid, that are of course a really competitive side. And that midfield also with Tchouaméni, Kroos and Modric, the one we are expecting, and also Xavi mentioned it during the press conference. So a really tough Real Madrid, although the absence of Courtois. And the one who has spoke also to the media this morning has been Carlo Ancelotti. First of all, he has talked about, of course, the emotional aspects and the importance of the mental aspect in El Clásico. These have been their words about that.
Tengo que mirar a un equipo que ha ganado todos los partidos de la Liga, ha empatado uno, el primero, que tiene una dinámica y una racha muy buena en la Liga. Entonces nosotros miramos a esto. Es un equipo que desde el principio en la competición nacional lo ha hecho muy bien y ha tenido algunos problemas en la Champions League, donde problemas suelen pasar en esta competición. Pero en la Liga han sido espectaculares.
Well, these were the words actually of the shape of form of Barca. Carlo Ancelotti saying that although the game that Barca drew in the Champions League and the bad dynamic in Europe, it's completely opposite in the league. And now, yes, we're going to hear also if he has changed the way of preparing a game like the Clásico, in the mental aspect, in that dynamic, how does it affect? Yeah, these also were Ancelotti's words.
como todos los clásicos, como todos los derbis, es un partido especial. Se prepara de manera igual como los otros. Es claro que después el aspecto emocional tiene que añadir el aspecto emocional, la presión, la preocupación, la tranquilidad, todo lo que comporta un partido de este tipo.
The words here from Carlo Ancelotti. We now start seeing our colleagues, the rest of the journalists that now are gonna fill these stands before starting this first 15 minutes of the training session that will be open to all media before traveling to Madrid. Remember, this same afternoon, the plane that will depart at 7 o'clock from Barcelona Airport. So we leave this position and we will hear us now, guys, during the training session.
Okay, Bruno, we'll be talking to you a little bit later then throughout the training session. Why don't we take a look now at the head-to-head between Real Madrid and Barça ahead of this Clasico, the biggest club football match in the world. It's, of course, a game that attracts the attention of so many throughout the entire globe. As we see there, the league record so far tied on points. As I mentioned before, the goals scored, Barça edging the opponents there by 1 goal. But look at the goals conceded. 7 goals conceded for Real Madrid to just the 1 for Barça. And the head-to-head, Ancelotti versus Xavi, is 1-1. What are your impressions when you see these kind of stats?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I hope that in terms of conceded goals, after tomorrow's game, we are going to keep it at, 1, no more. And yeah, I think in terms of goals scored, very equal number, 20 for Barca, 19 for Real Madrid. So it's easy to say that both teams are in terms of scoring goals and the almost equal level.
Yep.
So let's see who's going to be the dominant sides tomorrow.
Yeah, for me, I'd like to think that even after some of the defensive woes, the 1 goal conceded so far, it's not going to stay that way forever. But
why not?
But, well, if you concede 1 goal throughout a 38-game season, then you should be deserving of a little bit more than just a title.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's an emphasis tomorrow on letting the front 3 players attack and trying to keep that clean sheet at the back by not committing too many players forward at any one time against a team that loves to go on the counter-attack. I think Ter Stegen can keep that up.
Okay, all right. Interesting. At this point in time, it's maybe one of my favorite segments of these kind of shows. We're going to be guessing the lineup. We're going to be picking your brains a little bit to see which of the starting 11s you think Xavi will field tomorrow. Natalia, we're going to start with you.
Okay, so for tomorrow's game, I will obviously put Ter Stegen in the goal. Then,
right, that's one of the most obvious.
Start.
Yeah, good start.
Yeah, good start. I mean, we are all agree on that. Yeah. Then Sergio Roberto on the right. In terms of, I was thinking about Koundé, if I would like to see him at the right back or as a defender with Eric, but I choose him that way.
Koundé just received the medical clearance, of course.
Xavi said he's 100% fit, and he has received a green light, or he's yet to receive. I don't know, but as Xavi said, he's 100%
exactly
fit to start tomorrow. And then Balde at the left back, because I think I would like to see, this young spirit, something, he made a very good substitution in the first game against Inter, so hopefully he plays this way in the El Clasico. Then a little change compared to the Inter's game. I would like to see Frankie de Jong with Gavi and Perry in the midfield, and then
Frankie taking that defensive midfield position.
Yes, exactly, as a pivot, yes.
Yeah.
And then Lewandowski as a central forward, Dembele on the right, because I think he's doing... he's also doing good on the left, but he's better on the right, so that's why I chose him for that position. And also Ansu Fati, because I think Rafinha is doing better on the right, and since I have Dembele there, so I thought it was better to put Ansu Fati to complete the attack.
Okay, interesting. Spence, are there any overlaps with your starting 11?
Yeah, I agree with you on the midfield 3, and And Xavi is I think a risk in this situation, because you have to ensure that on counterattacks, or we saw it a couple of times against Inter, the ball pops up in the air and he lets it bounce because he's trying to play it off of the first bounce, and it's not necessarily his fault. But he's not quite tall enough yet to be able to get to it on the second bounce before another midfielder who's got
closes in,
who's got more size on him. So if he can learn to play that ball, this is obviously down the road. If he can learn to play that ball off of the short hop as opposed to letting it bounce over his head, that's where the risk comes in. But I think with Frankie de Jong coming in, we talk about players ahead of time who I forget the exact two words now. We're talking about bravery and
desperation
bravery and conservative action.
Okay, all right.
Well, I forget the exact verbiage we used, but he's, for me, the player that exemplifies being able to be brave while also being able to have control of the ball. Because he comes forward when he sees an opportunity, but he stays back and can also just hold the ball when it's necessary. Back line, Koundé is back. I thought, as I was mentioning, that Marcos was so good in a role that he's able to be that guy that they can count on at the back to just stand as a wall in front of everybody else. So I'm going to put Koundé on the right for the sole purpose that Vinicius is a handful. And Barca need to be able to control him. If Vinicius runs wild and free, I love Sergio Roberto. We saw it last year with Dani Alves, who's obviously was 38, and Vinicius was 20, 21. So Koundé can hang with him. As long as he's fully healthy and ready to go, send him out there. Balde on the left creates that extra element of dash, of speed. And Koundé can also get back to in transition. So I think with three essential center-back types, with Marcos as well, that's good. And up front, you just got to put your trust in these guys. That's what it comes down to. Ansu will get his chance. I think Ansu should have started against Inter. I don't know if this is the game for him to start. He'll get his chance,
Why?
though.
Why you start him against Inter, not this one?
Because in this game,
surely there's more on the line in the Champions League.
Every now and then, right now from Ansu, I think the criticism against him is that some of his movements aren't crisp enough. He's still trying to get back to a full fitness, essentially. And in this game, you need quick-acting players who can keep the ball at their feet, manipulate the ball in whatever way that they see fit. Dembélé certainly does that. And so that basically, Lewandowski is obviously a lock. And that leaves you between choosing, if you really want to go through the three, it's Rafinha, Ansu, and Ferran. And Rafinha, for me, right now, along with his ability to switch sides and play on the other side with Dembélé switching, to me, that creates the best attacking three that can run at the back line of Madrid as opposed to tapping it around, which is really what Pedri and Gavi and Frankie will do instead.
Okay, interesting. Well, I think we're going to have a look at mine next. And just to piggyback off of your thoughts there, what you were saying, Spence, with regards to Ansu, I'll start from the top and work my way down. I think this is the game where you have to put Ansu, quite honestly. I think it's the game where you give him that confidence, where you place that trust in him and say, look, the minutes you've been playing so far, the 20 minutes, the 30 minutes, 30-plus minutes, have been solid, have been good. We know that Ansu is an innate goal scorer. He's got that magical touch. We often talk about him being touched with the magical wand, right? He's got that certain something is for no reason. He wears the number 10 on his back. He's been given that, and that comes with a lot of pressure, but also responsibility. So I think for these massive games where, yes, it's massive, but we still have an entire league season where we, of course, can still have, where many points are still up for grabs and play for these many points. So it's not as crucial, Spence, as you were alluding to, as the game against Inter. I think this is the game where I would like to see Ansu start alongside Lewandowski and Rafinha, because he's a workaholic. He works his socks off. What do you want to say?
Are you leaving Dembélé out?
I'm leaving Dembélé out. Yeah. I'm leaving Dembélé out. It's a tough one. It's not an easy one, but I think also when it comes to Dembélé, he could maybe come off the bench with extra minutes. He's played so many minutes. He's been a go-to and a protagonist in Xavi's system. I wouldn't mind seeing him coming off of the bench and rest a few minutes. Whereas Rafinha, as I mentioned, a workaholic, works his socks off. Let's not forget that 1-0 against Inter was thanks to Rafinha chasing that ball down.
But we have the same back four, but we've shuffled it around.
I don't think so. I've got Balde.
No, we have the same back four players.
Okay.
But they're all in four different positions.
Okay, yeah, right.
So my question in terms of that back four that I'm looking at is that with Balde, we know that he's got the speed to keep up with Vinicius.
Yes.
Being in a position that he's only played twice so far this season, is his defending ability capable of handling someone like Vinicius on their left, our right?
It's to be seen. I don't know. It's a bit of a crazy bet. I agree. It's not the first time that he has played in that position. He's played in that position in the youth ranks as well. I think that he has the speed, also the physicality and aggression, controlled aggression, if you want to put it that way, to deal with Vinicius. I think Koundé and Eric, right now, Xavi has to place his trust in the best central defenders that he has.
Can help on that side when Vinicius comes down, send him over, help him out. Yeah.
And Alonso, of course, on the left is a position that he's used to in playing. No doubts about Ter Stegen a goal. I think as well you put Frenkie in the middle for Busquets, just given the good dynamics and minutes that we've seen from the Dutch midfielder.
Carolina says I'd leave Dembele out as well. Armani says we want a Spanish 11 and Piqué as captain. That's an interesting take.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Let's see. Some people are calling for Ansu as well. I see a lot of Ansu love. But there are. I think there's a lot of mixed opinions about this 11, and we're only going to have to wait to find out. We'll see. 24 hours.
We're a little bit over 24 hours away, Spence, as you put it, to find out what the starting 11 will be. On that note, though, why don't we once again hear from the players this time and see what it means for them to play this kind of Clásicos.
Molt satisfactori.
That will be special goal for me.
Sería increíble. Perfecta.
Lo mejor.
Will be a huge step forward for us.
Important for the players, of course, to win this Clásico will be very special, as we're seeing live images now from the Ciutat Esportiva Cantito Villanova, where Bruno, the team, has now started their 15-minute, or as you say, open, viewable 15 minutes of today's training session.
Yes, Diego. Now we're still seeing how the players are arriving to that middle part of the field. It's going to be the final training session before facing Real Madrid in El Clásico. It's going to be the final session to Xavi to end deciding which is going to be the lineup for tomorrow, as you were discussing there in the studio. But yeah, right now, this final training session, it's going to be the decisive one to see in the end all these doubts, well, to see the decisions of Xavi Hernández. Xavi, who could become the first Barcelona coach to win his first two La Liga Clásicos since Tata Martino in 2014. Of course, an epic win last year, 4-0 in the Santiago Bernabeu. Great memories for this team in the last month of March. Well, different context now with both teams arriving to this clash, top of the league, with all victories except one draw for each side. And interesting, of course, to see Jules Koundé now also stepping into the field. And in this training session, one of the big absences in recent games, and we will still have to wait until the end of this training session to see the squad list and to confirm, of course, that Jules Koundé will be there as well. Xavi already announced it during the preview press conference. So, well, Xavi waiting to the last players now stepping into the field before the first words and then starting this training session.
Bruno, we're seeing some players wear the bibs, other not. Are you getting a hint, an idea already, perhaps, of the starting 11 that Xavi will come out with tomorrow?
No, difficult to know. Ter Stegen and 10 more. No, this is, I think, all our predictions and our ideas. Yeah, I mean, up front, if we follow what Xavi has been doing, like in a kind of big games, we can expect to have Rafinha, Dembélé and Lewandowski in the starting lineup. But of course, it's also interesting what you were saying. If Ansu Fati can have the chance since the first minutes, same in midfield, we of course expect Pedri to be for sure in the starting lineup. But let's see what happens with Frenkie de Jong, as he's also back in the team. And who knows if he can be in the starting lineup instead of Busquets or even instead of Gavi, or as a centre-back, another possibility that Xavi mentioned the other day before the game against Inter, that can be one of the chances. Difficult to know the starting lineup. I will say it's really tough to make our predictions for that one, because as there is a big squad, there are lots of possibilities. Unfortunately, due to the absences in defense, it's kind of also complicated to make the puzzle there. But yeah, guys, I mean, the ones that will play tomorrow for sure are the 11 players that Xavi thinks are the most informed ones, and the ones that can be ready to beat Real Madrid in the Santiago Bernabeu. First touches now with the ball for these players that they have been watching in the video session some more details about Real Madrid.
Bruno, it's pretty astonishing, though, to see these, as they say in Spanish, las dos caras, the two different faces of Barça so far this season. One in the European continent and the other one in the domestic league, where Barça are the team with the most goals scored, the least amount of goals conceded, least fouls committed as well. We were talking earlier about our potential starting 11s, and you alluded to as well the puzzle that the defensive line is at the moment. How do you see it? What do you think is Xavi's pick for tomorrow's defensive line?
I mean, I understand that if Koundé is kind of 100%, he will be part of the starting lineup tomorrow. As it's a big clash, it's an important one. Not decisive, of course. We are just in match day 9 of La Liga, and there's still a long championship to go. But if Koundé is physically in shape, I'm sure he will be part of the starting lineup. Then in all the other positions, it's not easy at all, because I assume that Balde also will start. I don't know if as a left back or covering the right back position, but I'll assume that Balde deserves to be also in the starting lineup after all his good start. Marcos Alonso, he can be centre back, also he can play in the left. And then also the questions to see Eric Garcia, Gerard Piqué as a centre-backs. Sergi Roberto, of course, the other possibility to be one of them in that line. Yeah, many doubts and many questions down there in defense for FC Barcelona. While, yeah, we continue seeing these images from this training session with all the players making these exercises with the ball. Also Ter Stegen here in the left and Iñaki Peña ending the warm-up exercises. No Arnau Tenas today here in this training session, as he will be part of Barça B game and he won't travel to Madrid, we assume. But yeah, final minutes, final hours, guys, before a tough game like El Clasico. It's always exciting.
It most certainly is. We talked about it for these past 2 hours, how it's of course the world's biggest club football match and viewed by millions all around the globe. We heard, Natalia, from your earlier memories, and Spence as well. What is it like now that you're working for Barça? Are your family and friends are they even more involved and maybe emotionally involved in watching Barça and following everything, and this Clásico being of course a highlight?
Yeah, definitely yes. Since you know, my family knows that I'm a Barca supporter since I was a little girl. And
how did it start, actually?
Oh, it starts like, I think, you know, I have some memories of Ronaldinho, but as I mentioned with the highlights of El Clásico, we saw that are early memories. Then, yeah, I mean, maybe the 2007-2008 season, and then obviously the Guardiola era, which was, you know, I think lots of people became you know, I mean, amazed but how this team played, and kind of enchanted by the magic of Barca's Guardiola. And yeah, I would point, you know, but it's difficult, you know, to put just one moment. Right. And yeah, talking about El Clásico was the first game I watched at the Camp Nou. It was in 2015.
Okay.
So the 2-1 win with the goals of Mathieu and Luis Suarez and Cristiano for Real Madrid.
That's funny. I was there for that one one too.
Yeah, amazing game and in an amazing season because we won a triplete with Luis Enrique.
That's right.
For me, I remember, as I think happens a lot, again, I'm going to use the American excuse to say how it started, because I didn't grow up here, I didn't come from here, but we played a lot of FIFA back then. And I distinctly remember around 2006 or so, Samuel Eto'o was the fastest, most prolific FIFA scorer that you could find.
All right.
And from there, it kind of just works that way.
On the field and in the game, you mean?
I on the field, obviously, but I'm talking about in the game, because you never know how those FIFA rankings work. Gavi's way too low this year, just telling you. But you know, just kind of how it happens. I see it happen a lot with a lot of friends growing up. You're playing a video game, you play with a team, you fall in love with the team. Okay, I'll follow them in real life. And after that, you know, like I said, a guy named Messi came along, and from there, you fall in love with the atmosphere and the culture, and then it didn't hurt that I met a lovely Catalan lady about 5 years ago, and she happens to live close to here, and so it made it a very easy transition. To loving Barça, and here we are with another El Clasico. I will say, now that I'm working here for the club, and I think maybe, Natalia, you can attest to this. When you're a fan and you're sitting on your couch as a fan, you have a tendency to get even more emotional about the game.
Yes,
and when you're sitting here, you have to put on a little bit more of I don't want to, it's not a professional face, but I think
corporate hat.
I think, corporate. No, I don't think it's
Cool
like
head,
that.
yeah.
I think you just have to, keep your composure, because it's not all life and death. It is football, and that's okay. It's okay to be that way sometimes.
Easier said than done for some.
Yeah,
Spence.
like the other day.
I'm guilty of throwing the fan side of me out there. But Bruno, you of course born and bred here from the city of Barcelona, and culé hasta la médula, through and through. I wanted to ask you, though, a different question. You were talking with Rick before about Barca's attack in the game against Inter, and I thought an interesting parallel was made between, we heard from Xavi in the press conference talk about bravery, and Rick talk about perhaps desperation. There's a fine line between those two. How do you think Xavi is or needs to manage those two aspects?
Yes, when you play at the Santiago Bernabeu, you always know that the first probably 10-15 minutes, Real Madrid are going to go with everything. I mean, with all the fans, with this point of energy that Real Madrid always has in El Clasico. And I think it's really important to manage well these first 10-15 minutes, first emotions, nerves, tension. Once you are able to, be able to manage all this situation in these first minutes of the game, then it's time also to react probably and make your aspects and your points in the game. But as always in El Clasico, first minutes are going to be really, really important. And in this case, we can expect and assume that Real Madrid are going to start with their everything, and probably Barca are going to suffer, as normally always in the first minutes. It also happened, I mean, last year in the 4-0 win, also happened in the 6-2, the famous one. Real Madrid started scoring the opening goal. Always tough first minutes, but then for sure Barca are going to be able to manage well the rest of the situation. I don't like to compare tomorrow's game with the one against Inter, because in the game against Inter it was a must-win game, win or go home practically. And tomorrow, of course, for example, a draw, it's not a negative result for Barca, I think, taking into account that you face and you play Real Madrid in the Bernabeu. La Liga is just starting, so, and even if you lose, it's not the end of the world, as yes it was against Inter. So also, I think that this situation that is not a vital game because it's really early yet in the competition, also it's not gonna make Barca to attack in a desperate way like probably they did against Inter.
And Bruno, what about Real Madrid? Let's talk a little bit about our opponents. I want to quote a Barca legend here, Thierry Henry, who last season said, in Europe, teams are scared to face Real Madrid, but the only team Real Madrid are scared to face is Barça. Do you think that holds a lot of truth, taking a look at past results, and in particular in the Bernabeu, of course? Do you think that this Barca side goes to the Bernabeu without that pressure maybe of playing in the Santiago Bernabeu with everything covered in white, playing against Real Madrid, that they feel themselves as maybe not favorites, but that they can get a favorable result?
Yes, Diego, I agree with Henry. The other day, they asked to Pep Guardiola why it's so complicated to win the Champions League, and Pep said, well, because Real Madrid plays this competition. But it's true that the respect that we all have to Real Madrid, but Barca probably they go to the games as they know really well their rival, and they have been competing for so many years that they probably face them like in a more brave way in this case, and probably in Europe after their success in this last decade, especially, they feel this point of massive respect. I want to explain. I mean, to respect your opponent is always important, but the way of making this respect that can be translated into a negative point, this is what I think happens to most European clubs and not to Barca, as they know really well Real Madrid. But yeah, I mean, Real Madrid arriving completely informed to this game, also top of the league with same number of wins, 7 and 1 draw. Just they dropped points against Osasuna, actually, in the Santiago Bernabeu at home. And these are the thoughts of FC Barcelona. Some more news in this training session. We are seeing Ander Astralaga, Fabian Luzzi, and Biel Vicens from the under-19 A team making part of this training session today. So, well, important faces, and we will have to see if some of them they have the chance to be in the squad list for tomorrow. But always interesting also to see youth players from La Masia like Ander Astralaga, Fabian Luzzi, and Biel Vicens in the field.
All right, Bruno, with that, we're going to bid you farewell from the Ciutat Esportiva Camp Tito Vilanova. A good trip as well over to Madrid. We're going to be looking forward to connecting with you again tomorrow, of course. But any final words before your trip?
Well, hope to have a good experience like last season. Team are going to go to the same hotel in La Castellana, in city center of Madrid. And traveling today, the day before us, is an early kickoff, 4:15. We will start Barca Live 3:15 Central European time. Now the press officers saying that we have to leave our positions from here, guys. So that's all from the Ciutat Esportiva Joan Gamper, and let's hope that tomorrow the team can get and take a good result from the Santiago Bernabeu.
Absolutely, Bruno. We've got our fingers and toes crossed. Me, for one, I'm sure Natalia and Spencer doing the same. Guys, it's been a pleasure. It's been 2 hours that have flown by, as they always do, these Clasico specials. All this anticipation and excitement ahead of the biggest club football match in the world. Any last thoughts before we bid a farewell to our audience?
Yeah, fingers crossed for a Barca win and also for a Robert Lewandowski's goal.
We want a Lewandowski goal. We want a Barca victory. And we are going to try and take first place in sole possession of La Liga. I expect goals tomorrow. Let's do it. What's your prediction? Because we're going to save ours for tomorrow, but you got to give yours.
My score prediction, I think we're going to walk away with a 3-2 win. That's what I think. 3-2 win for Barca. We're coming home with the 3 points. Of course, continue to share your thoughts in the comments section. Make sure that you tune in for Barca Live tomorrow, starting at 3:15 p.m. Central European time. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.